friends, it's Miss Sarah. Welcome to First Chapter Friday. Today we're going to read the beginning of Bee and the New Deal Horse, and this is by L.M. Elliott. So this book is about Bee and her little sister. They wake up one day and their father has abandoned them. It's a timepiece, so it is in the 30s. They had a stock market crash and the dad decided he just couldn't take care of them anymore. He lost his job, they lost their home, and their mother recently passed away. So now Bee and her little sister have found Mrs. Scott, someone with a bigger farm and has a little bit of money, and they hope that they can make her love them so that they can have a place to live. It is during the Great Depression, so even Mrs. Scott, who is rich, is having some trouble, and she might have to sell her horses to stay afloat, especially one of the horses that seems kind of dangerous. But Bee seems to have a way with this horse, and she's like, this is our way to get Mrs. Scott to love us. We can save her farm and her horses if I start doing horse shows. So the beginning of Bee and the New Horse Deal, we'll start it here. It's a bit long, so we'll just start chapter 1. I woke up in a billowing pile of fresh-cut hay, wrapped in its miraculous smells of buttercups, of those miniature fuzzy wild daisies, of grasshoppers. Not the big prickly-legged locusts that spit tobacco juice, but the sweet little sliver of green grasshoppers that look like tiny blades of grass. No needles of dried-up, dead yellow straw sticking and tickling either. Soft, like sleeping on a little mountain of emerald-colored lace. So very different from the harsh coal stink and hard wooden planks of the rail cars Daddy had us hopping the previous weeks. I snuggled deeper into the green, trying to hang on to its feel of happy, drowsy sunshine, lullabied by the slow, steady breathing of horses slumbering beneath the hayloft where I was laying with my little sister and father. A sound I had grown up on and now ached for ever since the stock market crash and Daddy had to sell off almost every scrap of our previous life, including Mama's mare and my dandy boy. How I missed that fun-loving, good-natured pony. He would have lain down right next to me, content in the sweet, fresh hay. I rolled over and put a protective arm on Vivian, wondering if she missed Dandy too. She squirmed against my hug. Viv's got to be the world's most contrary 8-year-old. I swear, it would be a task to keep her quiet when she woke, and we need to be, given how Daddy had slipped us into the barn at night, guided only by moonbeams spilling through the enormous open doors of the stable's center aisle. We clearly were supposed to be hiding. I was growing more accustomed to our vagabond life, well, trying to be. We'd bedded down in so many barns now, just for the night, leaving before their owners got up in the morning, on our way to whatever Daddy thought he could find work. But this felt different. He brought us to this stable specifically. Why? I didn't know. The hard fact was, each day and what it might hold, that became a total mystery for the past 2 years since Daddy's bank had closed and laid him off. Like so many Americans since the Great Depression fell on us like a plague, he tried to make do with odd jobs. But a man who'd spent his adult life in three-piece suits and bow ties, overseeing bank accounts for Richmond's old society, didn't easily transition to being a handyman or tobacco picker. To say Daddy didn't know his way around a hammer or a hoe is what Mama would have called the understatement of the century. Mama. What would Mama say to Daddy to get him out of the flask of outlawed whiskey he carried with him now? Stuff made from God knows what in some yokel's back woodshed. It wasn't Daddy's fault that everyone's money evaporated like a small puddle in the noonday sun. But some days I just wanted to scream at him to be the daddy he used to be. The least he could do is keep his head straight. I opened my eyes. Dawn was seeping into the barn in warm ribbons of rose light. I followed its glow. Directly above me in the eaves was a barn swallow's nest, a deep balcony sculpted of mud and sticks. I hadn't spotted that wonderment in the night's darkness. As I marveled, its maker wiggled out of her cleverly daubed nest, warbled a good morning at me in a flash of cobalt blue and cinnamon, dove and swooped through the open doors, disappearing into the bright gold sunshine. I actually heard air brushing along the swallow's feathers as she skated right by me in such a friendly hello. That gorgeous bird coming so close, like she was making sure I was all right. Had to be a good omen. Had to be. Mama always read all sorts of meaning into birds. Maybe we could stay put for a while, for a few days anyway. Please, Daddy? I actually heard air brushing Below the horses shuffled and snorted, walking up as well, giving little expectant nickers, watchful for their breakfast. Someone would be coming to feed them soon. My grip on Viv's tightened, anticipating having to put a hand over her mouth, just as, in the clockwork that is a good barn, someone entered whistling softly. I held my breath. It'd break my heart to be discovered and chased away like a stray dog from this heavenly place. Mercifully, Viv stayed asleep through the scoop and dump of grain into 7 feed tubes and the answering chorus of methodical munching. The scent of molasses drifted up to me. Sweet feed, oat, corn, and barley grain mixed and moistened with thick, delicious molasses. I almost drooled remembering the taste of pancakes covered with a heavy, dark, brown syrup. Enjoy, children, a male voice crooned to the horses. Be back in a few to turn y'all out. Footsteps faded away. Someone's coming back, I whispered in Viv's ear. Stay quiet. She kicked at me. Let me sleep, Bee. I'm so tired. You do that. I pulled her sweater up tighter around her and patted her shoulder before sitting up to stretch, my own stomach scrawling with hunger that would have rattled me out of slumber. I was amazed hers wasn't as well. But the journey had been an exhausting one. Clambering into a freight car just outside Norfolk, hiding for hours in smelly darkness with an old gentleman and his frightened wife who'd almost become unlikely. Wall Street made nomads. Clink, 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 clink. The careless lurching of a delivery train, not worried about discomforting passengers, since there were no paid ones. Passing by Manassas and climbing out at the plains, then by walking, hitching, until we arrived here around midnight. Wherever here was. Somewhere a little north of a place called Middleburg, dropped off on the side of a dirt road by a man who gave us a lift in what he called his Hoover cart. The cart stripped down to his chassis because he couldn't afford gas, pulled by a pair of thoroughbreds, obviously unused to the task. We staggered up a brutally long lane past the sign that read, Galashiel's Glen. Daddy had to carry Vivian at that point. Sleep would do her no good. Better wake Daddy, though, before the stable hand returned, since he did snort and snore in his sleep, and lately Daddy tended to groan as he woke, holding his head. Sometimes he even retched, spontaneous with opening his eyes, as if poison had been percolating in him all through the night, and had just reached the boiling point, any of which would be a dead giveaway to someone below. I looked over to where Daddy had bedded. I didn't see him. So that is the beginning of chapter 1 of Bee and the New Deal horse. It looks like Bee just woke up and somebody is coming back to check on them, and her daddy is missing. So if you'd like a little bit of historical fiction and you like timepieces like the Great Depression or books with horses in it like Black Beauty, this book would be great for you. So just come to the library, we can show you where it is, or give us a call and we can put it on hold for you. Thanks, friends. Have a great Friday.